Lakshmana, brother of Rama, as if Adi-Shesha in human form, the curve of his bow a snake's hood above his head, stormed into Sugriva's palace with the young Prince Angad running along to keep up with him. Crossing courtyard after embellished courtyard, fury swirled within Lakshmana as he saw the richly clothed Vana-naras reclining on silken cushions, enjoying the finest foods as they were entertained by musicians. This, while his brother Rama, trusting these Vanaras and their oath to help, roamed the jungles without food or rest, calling out like one gone mad to Seetha. He would raze Kishkinda to the ground. He would reduce these ingrates to nothing. A story, a sprinkling of magic. Namaskaram. Welcome to Stories and Magic with me, Mahita, and to the story of Tara, wife of Vali. There is not much information about Tara, yet she is a Panchakanya. Why? What makes her worthy of being a part of this very special group of strong, independent women? Ahalya, Draupadi, Kunti, Tara and Mandodari. You must read every version of the Ramayana to get a greater understanding of Tara. But first, let me tell you a story about that time when she, Tara, influenced the course of the Ramayana. Before we continue with the second part of the story of Tara though, thank you for stopping by to listen. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please take a moment to do so, and afterwards, do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's start conversations. Now, come with me to Kishkinda, to Tara and Lakshmana, the Prince of Ayodhya. Pausing in front of Sugriva's chambers, roaring out the king's name, Lakshmana twanged his bow, sending a signal of doom into every corner of the three worlds, and the earth seemed to slow into watchful silence. And then the shimmering peacock-hued curtains parted, and the most lovely creature, slim-waisted, lotus bud breasts, barely covered with the most fragile of fabrics, jewels hung low about her hips, stepped through them. Stumbling ever so slightly as if her feet were guided by wine, eyes heavy with the remnants of pleasure, lips curved in a slight smile, Tara stood before the prince, who for a moment looked at her wordless, stunned by this most unexpected vision. Then, embarrassed, he dropped his eyes, unsure of what to do next. Welcome, Prince of Ayodhya. Tara's voice, deep as dark honey, ran over the raging fire in Lakshmana's veins, soothing it to a dull blaze. Lakshmana bowed. What brings you here? My lady, the king of Vanaras, having achieved his means with false assurances to Rama, is now lying in a stupor of forgetfulness, Lakshmana said. I have come to remind him, this treacherous Vanara, that just one arrow from my bow could send him down the same path his brother took while leaving this world. Tara winced at the mention of Vali's death. Speak not so harshly of the king, son of Dasaratha, and speak not of treachery and fairness, for none of us here can claim to be blemishless, that we can point a finger in accusation. I know the anguish in your heart, for who has not suffered loss? From your home in the heart of the jungle, so far away from us here, it is easy to assume anything, even forgetfulness and deceit on the part of Sugriva. The truth is that even now as we speak, the armies of Kishkinda are marching home and will be here before the rise of the next sun. Our only fault, Prince, is in failing to send word to you, and for that I ask forgiveness. She bowed. Come, Sugriva waits. Tara waited by the doorway, knowing she might have to intervene again. And it was so, as Soumitri, seeing Sugriva in the arms of his wives, spoke once more hot-tempered words threatening death. Cool as the full moon, in sharp contrast to the fiery Lakshmana, Tara drew him away from Sugriva's chambers, leading him to the terrace. "It is not worthy of you, Kumara, to speak to the king thus. He had only asked for the time and space of a season. He has not cut the promised ties of friendship with you and Raghava. Look out at the plains before you. You cannot see the sun for the dust storms created by our fighting force who return home at our command. My Vali, whenever he spoke of the king of Lanka, always talked of a strange and wonderful army of millions of shape-shifting demons. You need us, Lakshmana, to defeat them and bring Seetha home." The mention of Vali was an arrow in Lakshmana's heart. This Vanara woman in front of him was no stranger to separation, and he was responsible for it. Many were the nights as he stayed awake in vigil that the events of the recent past played out in front of his eyes. Shurpanaka, it had started with her. "Don't look upon desire as a sin, Lakshmana," Tara said softly, as if reading his mind. "If even the great sage Vishwamitra could forget himself in the arms of the Apsara Gritachi, forgetting time, then who are we to claim to be beyond its entrapment? And you, Ayodhya-kumara, who are above mere mortals, it is beneath you, not knowing reality, to rush into rage and assumption, to be driven by desire." Lakshmana stopped as if looking for words. I do not, I know. If you were, you would not have left behind the younger princess of Mithila to wait for you while you followed your brother in his service. If driven by desire, you might have even accepted the advances of the princess of Lanka, both beautiful and powerful, but... Tara's voice trailed away, and her words held only truth, but it was truth that ran like poison in Lakshmana's veins. Shurpanaka. If only he had stopped to see that giving in to desire was as natural to her as holding back was to him, maybe he would have been gentler. If only he had reasoned with her, or at the very least restrained and returned her home with her Asura companions. But no, he had in a flash of anger slashed at her nose and ears and nipples. How could he ever forgive himself for treating a female thus? How would the gods or the creatures of any of the three worlds forget this heinous act or forgive him? Did Rama ever look at him and wonder that if he, Lakshmana, hadn't mutilated the princess of Lanka, she would not have provoked her brother to both revenge and lust for Seetha? And Urmila, his own wife, the younger princess of Mithila, wedded to him the same day that Seetha was wedded to Rama. Didn't she have a right to her dreams, to her desires? She had not asked for the life of an abandoned wife. She had not stopped him leaving. All she wanted was to be with him, to go with him. But "Look after my mother," he said, and left. If Rama can long for his wife and be distraught at being separated from her, what of Urmila? Is it not possible that she feels the same about you? If you can want to kill Ravana, who caused your brother this anguish, how, Lakshmana, will you forgive yourself for causing the same anguish to your blameless wife? If you had not rushed to thoughtlessly mutilate the princess of Lanka, would your brother have needed the help of Sugriva, lesser in every way to my husband Vali? And would Vali's dastardly killing have happened, leaving me at the mercy of the one who plotted his murder? How much blood and sorrow on your hands, Lakshmana. Is it any wonder that you do not sleep? The honey voice of Tara was now a barbed lash on his skin. Lakshmana whipped around, quick words of defense on his lips. But Tara? Her face was calm, her lips unmoving as she looked into the distance. Who then had spoken these words? Who had put these thoughts in his mind? Tara turned to Lakshmana and smiled, a polite movement of her lips, that left her eyes cold and untouched. In honor of you, Ayodhya-kumara, and of the older prince Rama, Sugriva, the king of Kishkinda, and I offer to you our armies, the riches of our land, our lives, and the lives of our men, women, and children. When you go into battle, prince, go with the sun in your face and the wind at your back. May Seetha be found and be brought back to the safety of her home. May victory be yours. Lakshmana could not bring himself to look up at Tara. Palms joined, he bowed. I know now why Vali, even with his last breath, counseled us to heed your words, he said. I will take your leave now. When the palace was quiet, Tara walked down the silent corridors and up again to the terrace, where she could feed the birds and listen to them talk, bringing to her, as always, news of the Vana and the Vanyajantu. Tara, Apsara, beautiful and wise beyond compare, born of the ocean of milk, Tara of the fragrant skin and hair, Tara, who knew the language of every creature ever born, saw before her cities on fire. One person's victory would be the defeat of an entire race of people, the destruction of millions of homes, and ultimately her words, spoken over her beloved Vali's last breath, would come true. Rama and the princess of Ayodhya, Seetha, would know neither peace nor oneness, for no creature that ever existed could escape karma, and this was their karma.